Welcome to today's podcast of Everyone Has the Freedom to Choose. This is Deb King. Join us for today's cornerstone conversation, investing in others. I think it's time to get back to some old school in our lives today. There is overwhelming technology and Twitter touches or Facebook blurbs, but one-to-one interfaces with people that we have relationships are dramatically lower each decade that passes by. The problem is, where do we gain insight and wisdom from those who have gone before us? I'm not sure about others, but I can tell you when I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, I needed a perspective other than my selfish view of life that included what I was entitled to and who other than me was to blame for my misery. I needed to hear other ways to view my circumstances and challenges that only someone who has been there before could give me. This person in my life was Inez Carlson, a.k.a. Grandma C, or Granny. She was the best. She taught me to see things from God's perspective and how to be a godly woman, wife, and mother. Inez embodied God's grace, love, and commitment to humanity like none other. Inez was an example of unconditional love. She knew who the enemy was and how to fight him. Inez taught me how to pray and how to win the war. She taught me to see God's plan and stay focused on God's agenda. She taught me not to dance with demons, but to let God determine the battlefield. Inez had been a true Jesus follower since she was 17. It happened in 1924 when she died from a ruptured appendix and pneumonia and came back to life. It was a remarkable experience that led her to Christ. 51 years later, when she was 68, we met. At the time, she was a Bible study teacher and made the Bible come alive with all the culture and background around the Bible lesson for that week. She brought Jesus, his love, life, and commitment to his Father and to humanity to life. Think about how her walk began for her. Not only did she teach it, but also, most importantly, she lived it. She was a depositor into people's lives and an influencer to thousands and a mentor to many. She was a mentor to me. She had a heart for me. I was lost, struggling, and hurting. She had the cure, Jesus and unconditional love. Inez never told people what to do. She never judged them. Inez never gossiped and never said an unkind word about another person. Instead, she said she'd pray, and pray she did. There is a movie called War Room by the Kendrick brothers. It is an outstanding example of mentoring and investing in others. The basic storyline is a woman asking God to put someone into her life for her to invest in that person, teaching this person that the people in her life aren't her enemy, but there is an enemy that wants to steal, kill, and destroy. That is the real enemy, and you need a real strategy to fight and win those battles. These lessons could never be communicated or even understood on social media. We cannot pass relationship principles through Twitter. It is a living and life issue that requires touch, eye-to-eye contact, and time. Warm coffee is a lesson that is only able to be expressed face to face. God's love is more than 140 characters. It is a verb, an action, and a living together actively plan. Touching the brokenhearted, those hurting, is beyond what 140 characters can heal. People need to know they are valuable and that there is hope. They need to know that God loves them, not because they saw it in print, but because someone who has been there can share their experience, strength, and hope. That is the key. People reaching out to people. We have a world of hurting young people, and we need to stand up and fight for them. We must link arm in arm and raise up an army of prayer warriors that will spend time on their knees praying for our youth. It is crucial to be people known for love and perseverance, to stand for our families. We must be willing to dedicate time to one another in person, not by text, email. No one emails anymore. Too many words. Twitter, Facebook, or the newest Instagram. It doesn't matter if they are our children or someone else's, but the key is to be present with our teens, investing by example, not by rules, regulations, condemnation, etc. They need to know we care, not because we say so, but because we are willing to participate, invest, and value them. We are investing in their friends, standing in the gap and praying for them, saying to Satan, "You cannot have my children or their friends." Teens respond when we invest in teens, training, teaching, and participating in their lives. Children aren't the only targets. Families are. The family disintegrates if there can be chaos, hatred, and animosity between husbands and wives, leaving brokenness and despair. As a result, pain flows from their hearts to our children and out the door to the world in which we live. It's time to say, "Not anymore, Satan. You cannot have our families, marriages, or children." The Apostle Paul tells us we don't fight against people. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Ephesians 6:12. This spiritual battle is not a fight for us to do alone. We need one another. When we let go of our differences and are willing to be united on the core foundation of Jesus Christ, we can withstand the fiery darts of the evil one. Peter tells us, "Be alert and sober of mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour." 1 Peter 5, verse 8. As we read the end of the book, Jesus wins. It is time that we go back to the old school and invest in one another, generation to generation, line upon line, precept upon precept. The truth to be passed on from one person to another, face to face. The Grandma C's, the Miss Claras of the world. Change the world one woman or one man at a time. Let us be the men and women who intentionally pass on God's truth to each person God brings into our lives. Are we willing to invest 1 hour a week in someone else? Are we ready to reach out with our experience, strength, and hope, and our faith in God to share what we have learned with someone else? Can we be the example of unconditional love in someone else's life? Write down the name of one person with whom you are willing to help. Thanks for listening and being a part of our conversation. You are welcome to pass it on. You can find us at www.debaking.com.